Imagine trying to fit the entire population of, like, a mid-sized city. So, say about 188,000 people.
Right, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine cramming all of them into the downtown core of a major metropolis every single morning. I mean, most urban planners would hear that number and just immediately brace for total gridlock.
Oh, absolutely. Total chaos.
You'd probably picture bottlenecked streets, overcrowded buses, and a city infrastructure just pushed to the absolute breaking point. But today, we are exploring a city that doesn't just survive this daily influx, it actually thrives on it.
Yeah, it completely defies the traditional expectations of urban crowding because instead of those students breaking the city's systems, they're actually the very reason those systems function so effectively.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are taking you on a journey to explore how a city doesn't just host universities, but is physically and economically built by them.
It's a really fascinating dynamic.
It really is. And we are pulling from a bilingual report originating from wikiresidence.ca and infodrone.ca. It's titled, One of the Best University Cities in the World. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because we aren't talking about, a quaint, sleepy college town today. We are talking about Montreal.
Right, definitely not a sleepy town.
No, not at all. According to the QS Top Universities Global Rankings, Montreal is the #1 university city in all of Canada, and it's #2 in all of North America, sitting right behind Boston.
Yeah, and the scale of what's happening there is just staggering. We're looking at a network made up of 15 separate university institutions.
Wow, 15.
Yep, 15. And those institutions serve the 188,000 students you just mentioned.
That's just wild.
It is. And our goal today is to show you exactly how this concentrated academic footprint dictates almost every aspect of the metropolis.
No.
I mean, from the underground train tunnels to the global real estate market, the universities are essentially pulling the strings.
So let's start by looking at that traditional North American university model. Usually when you hear college town, you picture like a secluded, walled-off campus relegated to the outskirts of a city.
Right, like a bubble.
Exactly, a bubble, a retreat from the real world with its own grassy quad and, a single main street with a bookstore and a coffee shop.
Yeah, very self-contained.
But Montreal's model is the total opposite. These campuses are anchored in the very heart of the urban center. So my immediate question is, why do so many students flock to this specific city, and how does the metropolis absorb them all without just bursting at its seams?
Well, the initial draw really comes down to a potent combination of three factors. So you have quality of life, affordability, and bilingualism.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and out of those 188,000 students, about 40,000 are international students, and they hail from over 150 different countries.
That is a massive international presence.
It really is. They're traveling across the globe for a world-class education that won't, leave them bankrupt. And they get to live in a city that operates fluidly in both French and English.
And the academics are top tier, right?
Oh, the academic pedigree is undeniable. Three of these institutions, McGill University, Université de Montréal, or UDA as it's called, and Concordia University, they are all ranked in the global top 500 for 2025.
Right. The report actually notes that McGill is often recognized as the Harvard of Canada.
Exactly.
But I kind of want to push back on the logistics here, because you have tens of thousands of international students, plus over 100,000 local and national students, all crammed into a dense urban grid.
Yeah, it's a lot of bodies moving around.
Right. So if you are a local resident just trying to grab a coffee and go to work, doesn't this academic density create absolute chaos for your daily routine?
Well, a sudden influx of that size would certainly paralyze a standard city grid. But what is so fascinating about Montreal is that the city and the universities, they actually grew in tandem.
Oh, I see. So they develop together.
Exactly. The municipal government doesn't just tolerate the students, it actively incorporates them into land use planning through something called transit-oriented development, or TOD.
Okay, let's define that for a second, because transit-oriented development sounds like dense city planner jargon.
It does sound a bit dry.
Yeah. So what does that actually look like for the person walking down the street?
In practice, it means urban planners literally draw circles around major public transit stations, and then they rewrite the zoning laws to force high-density, mixed-use development within like a 10-minute walking radius of those stations.
So they build everything right there.
Right. They intentionally build the housing, the grocery stores, the offices, and the university lecture halls directly on top of the transit hubs.
Wow. Okay.
So the urban layout and the municipal services are fundamentally engineered to capture the energy of the student population and basically channel it underground rather than letting it bottleneck on the surface streets.
That is brilliant. So, if the city is constantly adapting and flowing with hundreds of thousands of students, the literal arteries of the city must be doing an incredible amount of heavy lifting.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings up the sheer mechanics of moving this small army of intellectuals every single day. We really have to talk about the underground.
Yeah, moving that volume of people requires highly efficient subterranean infrastructure. In Montreal, the 15 university establishments are intimately linked to the STM, that's the local metro network, and increasingly to a brand new light rail system called the Réseau Express Metropolitain, or the REM.
Okay, so instead of just listing off train stops like we're reading a subway map, let's look at how this actually changes the daily rhythm of a student.
Good idea.
Take the Green Line of the Metro, which cuts right through the downtown core. It is completely dominated by McGill and Concordia. Like, the Peel, McGill, and Guy Concordia stations feed right into these campuses.
They do.
And McGill even has a direct connection to the new REM, so you don't even have to put on a winter coat, step outside, or wait at a crosswalk to get across the city and end up in a lecture hall. You are seamlessly moving from a high-speed train straight to your desk.
Which is huge in a Canadian winter, by the way. But consider the contrast between that and the isolated bubble campus we talked about earlier.
Right, it's night and day.
The student is constantly interacting with the broader city. And this synergy really hits its peak at the Barrie UKM station, which is basically the underground nerve center of the entire transit network.
How so?
Well, the Université du Québec of Montreal, or UKM, isn't just located near the station. The campus was essentially built as an extension of the transit hub itself.
Wait, really? Like physically connected?
Yes, physically connected. You step off the train, you walk through the turnstiles, and you are immediately inside the university pavilion. The boundary between municipal infrastructure and academic architecture is completely erased.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting. If you travel along the Blue Line, you hit the Université de Montréal, along with Polytechnique and HEC Montreal.
Right. The big francophone hubs.
Exactly. And they're served by the Université de Montréal and Edouard Montpetit stations. Now, UDEM is situated on the slope of Mount Royal. It's a literal mountain in the middle of the city.
Yep, smack in the middle.
So when planners integrated this campus into the new high-speed REM network at the Edouard Montpetit station, they couldn't just build a normal street-level stop.
No, they could not.
They had to bore straight down, carving the station roughly 70 meters deep into the solid rock of the mountain.
The engineering required for that is just monumental. They essentially excavated a vertical cavern to reach the train tunnels down below.
I read about this and couldn't help but think it sounds like they built a James Bond villain lair, you know?
It really does.
Just to ensure students can get to their morning seminars. But jokes aside, I'm trying to grasp the why here. Why spend hundreds of millions of dollars boring into a mountain for a university stop?
It sounds cinematic, sure, but think about the vital function it serves. A mountain is typically a geographic obstacle.
Right, you have to go around it.
Exactly. It divides neighborhoods and forces commuters to take long, looping surface routes, which causes massive traffic. By boring straight down into the bedrock, they transformed a geographic barrier into a high-speed conduit.
That's so smart.
And the deeper mechanism at play here is justification. The presence of these academic institutions is what justifies the colossal financial investments in heavy transit infrastructure in the first place.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you can only fund a mountain-carved REM station when you have hundreds of thousands of daily trips practically guaranteed by the academic calendar.
That makes perfect sense. The students are the guaranteed customer base that allows the city to build world-class transit for everyone else.
Exactly.
And the transit webbing stretches way beyond just the downtown core. Like you have the École de Technologie Supérieure, or ATS, deeply integrated into the revitalized Griffintown neighborhood.
Right, which is a major tech hub near the Bonaventure station.
Yeah. And you even have the Université de Sherbrooke, which strategically placed a campus on the South Shore in Longueuil. It sits directly above a metro station and offers over 120 programs, so it completely distributes the weight of the student population. Downtown isn't the only academic destination.
And we also see highly specialized research hubs tapping into this grid. You have INRS, an institution dedicated exclusively to graduate studies, with research centers strategically spread across Montreal, Laval, and Varennes.
So they're tapping into the specific industrial strengths of each of those distinct zones.
Precisely.
So we have this vast subterranean web moving an army of students and researchers every single day. But where do all these brilliant minds go when they graduate?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right, because if we follow the logical progression here, all this connectivity isn't just about getting to class on time, it is the foundation of a massive economic engine.
Yeah, the transit infrastructure is the physical grid, but the economy is the current running through it. The report notes that Montreal boasts the largest pool of university researchers in the entire country.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that. A city has a ton of researchers. Why should you, listening to this, care? How does having a bunch of academics writing papers actually change the financial gravity of a city?
Well, because density of intellectual talent acts as a direct magnet for global capital.
Okay, go on.
Let's look at high-growth, future-facing sectors like artificial intelligence and aerospace. Tech giants and aerospace manufacturers don't want to fly experts across the world, and they don't want to cross their fingers and hope top talent relocates to their suburban corporate parks.
No, they want them right next door.
Exactly. Instead, they strategically plant their global headquarters and research laboratories right across the street from where the AI PhDs are defending their theses. They do this so they can hire the top-tier talent the moment they graduate. Montreal produces and retains these minds in staggering numbers, which essentially forces global industries to anchor their capital in the city.
So the corporations are following the transit lines to get to the universities, to get to the talent.
That's it.
That is a brilliant loop. But the economic impact isn't just happening in shiny, high-tech laboratories, right? It is drastically altering the streets and the housing market.
Oh, massively.
Because think about it, 188,000 students create immense constant pressure on real estate. The demand for housing dictates a huge portion of downtown housing starts.
Yeah, developers are racing to build new apartments and residences.
And the golden rule for these developers, tying right back to what we discussed earlier, is that the buildings must be located less than 10 minutes from a metro or REM station.
The physical transit web dictates the real estate development, and then the real estate development fuels the local economy. It's a perfect circle.
But I want to play devil's advocate for a moment here, because I know what you might be thinking listening to this. When you hear that thousands of transient students are dictating downtown housing starts, you might immediately picture a race to the bottom.
Sure, yeah.
You imagine cheap, cramped, poorly constructed dorms just taking over the city. Basically student slums. Is that what is actually happening to the Montreal real estate market?
It is a highly logical concern, especially if you look at how other cities have mishandled student housing. But the reality here is quite the opposite, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the investments being made are focused on long-term urban resilience. Developers aren't just throwing up temporary low-quality structures. The city is enforcing a mix of strategic affordable housing and highly modern residential architecture designed to elevate the urban core, not degrade it.
Because the market demands it.
Exactly. Because the universities attract global talent and corporate headquarters, the housing needs to satisfy young professionals, international researchers, and corporate executives, not just first-year undergraduates.
Okay, so we are pouring concrete for mountain train tunnels. We are building global corporate towers for AI companies. We are rapidly expanding high-density real estate. I have to admit, when you stack all of those elements together, it sounds incredibly heavy.
It does sound like a lot of concrete.
Yeah, it sounds deeply industrial. And usually when a city goes all in on concrete and corporate growth, it ends up as the sterile, gray financial district. How does a city prevent itself from becoming a sprawling, paved-over concrete jungle while absorbing all of this structural growth?
That tension right there is exactly where the presence of the universities changes the entire trajectory of the urban planning. Because academic institutions don't just drive economic and structural growth, they actually serve as a powerful counterweight.
How so?
They act as catalysts for sustainable, green urban planning, fundamentally preventing unchecked urban sprawl.
Let's look at the human element of that first. You have those 40,000 international students from 150 different countries. The report highlights that they create this incredibly cosmopolitan, vibrant urban fabric.
Yeah, they bring so much life to the city.
They act as powerful vectors of integration and cultural diversity. The city avoids feeling sterile because it is inherently open to the world. The world is constantly arriving, bringing new art, food, and perspectives directly into the neighborhoods.
And on the structural side, The universities are deeply collaborative with the municipal government on ecological initiatives.
So they're not just building lecture halls.
Not at all. They work directly with the city to create sustainable living environments. This involves greening the physical surroundings of the campuses, aggressively developing pedestrian-only streets, and promoting active mobility like cycling and walking over car dependency.
The report gives a perfect concrete example of this, actually. The MIL campus at the Université de Montreal. They didn't just bulldoze an existing green space or a historic neighborhood to build a new tech center.
No, they did something much smarter,
They built the campus on an abandoned former rail yard.
which is a textbook example of what urban planners call urban requalification.
Let's define that too. Because an abandoned rail yard is essentially a dead zone, right?
Totally.
It's an industrial scar that usually divides neighborhoods. It creates a barrier where people don't want to walk or live. By taking that dead industrial space and transforming it into a cutting-edge, green academic hub, they stitched the surrounding neighborhoods back together.
It's a brilliant move.
They married real estate development with innovation and a deep ecological conscience. They essentially brought a dead zone back to life.
And the city is taking that ecological integration even further in how it handles its basic utilities. A prime example is the implementation of what are known as sponge parks for stormwater management in these newly developed areas.
Okay, so what does this all mean? The term sponge parks sounds a bit playful, but the mechanics behind it are actually brilliant.
They really are.
Think about a standard, heavily developed city. It acts like a paved-over parking lot. When it rains, the water has nowhere to go. It just pools up, creates flash floods, and overwhelms the sewer systems with toxic runoff.
Right, which is a huge problem in a lot of cities.
But a sponge park fundamentally changes the landscaping. By using engineered soil, deep-rooted plants, and strategic depressions in the ground, the urban landscape is redesigned to act like a living, breathing organism.
I love that analogy.
It becomes a literal sponge that catches the rainwater, holds it, and slowly releases it back into the environment. It relieves the pressure on the city's infrastructure. And that vital shift toward ecological resilience is heavily influenced by the universities pushing for progressive, sustainable living standards.
If we pull back and look at the broader mechanics of everything we've discussed, it becomes entirely clear why Montreal holds that top ranking.
It really does.
The city doesn't simply appear on a list of places with good schools. It lives, it breathes, and it physically structures itself to the rhythm of its universities.
Yeah.
For the urban planners drawing the transit lines, the real estate professionals building the housing, and the everyday citizens utilizing those sponge parks, this deep integration is a guarantee of economic vitality and continuous innovation.
It's incredible.
The harmonious way these academic institutions blend with the heavy transit networks ensures that the city's development is coherent, sustainable, and resolutely future-oriented.
It is a completely integrated machine. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We set out to figure out how a massive academic footprint shapes a modern metropolis, and I think we found our core aha moment.
I think so, too.
A world-class city isn't just about having prestigious schools operating inside its borders. It is about taking the energy of those schools and weaving it into the very bedrock, the subway tunnels, the real estate, and the corporate economy of the city itself.
Absolutely.
Montreal provides the ultimate physical blueprint for how to build the integrated university city.
It is a remarkable structural achievement, for sure. But, before we sign off, there's one final unaddressed detail from the source material that raises a pretty fascinating question to leave you with.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So we spent all our time today marveling at physical infrastructure, right? Train stations carved into mountains and dense downtown real estate. Yet the report also notes that institutions like TeleQ and UCare currently hold an undisputed leadership position in distance learning for more than 20,000 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we also know Montreal is a leading global hub for artificial intelligence research.
That is a very interesting collision of factors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So consider this. If AI and hyper-immersive remote learning become the absolute standard of the future, what happens to this brilliantly physical, transit-linked metropolis model?
Oh, that's a good point.
If tomorrow's students no longer need to ride a high-speed train carved into the side of a mountain just to get to a physical lecture hall, how will the city's real estate, its corporate economy, and its urban heartbeat adapt next?
Man, that is a wild thought to chew on. Something to deeply consider the next time you log into a remote seminar from your living room. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you next time.
Until next time, take care.
Thank you for watching this video. For more news and in-depth reports, visit wikiresidents.ca. All our content is available in text and audio formats across all your devices. Please feel free to share your comments with us.